Welcome to the Craft and Biz of Acting, the place to go to learn what they didn't teach you in acting school. When you're looking for the next step in your acting career, we've got you covered. With your host, monologue expert, and founder of monologuestogo.com, Joyce Story.
Hello, fellow thespians. You are listening to The Craft and Biz of Acting. I'm your host, Joyce Story, and we're here to explore the nuts and bolts of auditioning and performing. Today's guest is the wonderful and insightful Kim Onah. Kim is an actress, writer, singer, and she's based here in New York City. She graduated from Harvard University in 2015 with an A.B. in English and music. Theater credits include Effie in DREAMGIRLS, Mrs. Crowe in A Man of No Importance, Joanne in Rent, Dionne in Hair, Nettie in CAROUSEL, and Martha in Spring Awakening. Kim's interests outside of music and theater include playwriting, composing, and running. You can find out more about Kim at www.kimonah.com. Everything is in our show notes. Welcome to the show, Kim.
Thank you so much, Joyce. It's so nice to be here.
I am just thrilled to have you here because you've addressed something that I just think is so critical for actors, and especially beginning actors who are just getting their feet wet in the industry, and it might be kind of overwhelming for them to start the audition process. They've just gotten out of school, they've had a great experience, they've had a warm and loving environment in which to play and to hone their skills, and now they're out in the big bad world of auditioning.
Yeah.
And you wrote an amazing article. It's part of a blog, and it's called Finding Your Own Success in the Audition Room. And when I read it, I just thought, I have to interview this girl. She just has gotten so much figured out at such a young age. So, Kim, let's launch into, how about you read us the first little paragraph of your blog so our audience can understand what the premise is of the blog, and then we'll jump in from there.
Yeah. When most actors audition, they measure their success by whether or not they got a callback or booked the job. But what if you walked into the room, worked your butt off, felt amazing afterwards, and still didn't get the callback or book the job? Does that mean you failed?
And does that mean you failed? Because a lot of us, we just feel so deflated. We come in, we do a great, great job, and then we felt like, why did I waste my time? What am I doing here? Am I good enough? Why didn't they want me? Do I not measure up? I'm from Kansas City. What do I know about New York City? So what do you feel like it's a failure, or do you think that's a success?
Yeah, I mean, when I first got to the city, I didn't really know what success was. I didn't know how to define success. And I did feel like I had failed, walking into auditions that I didn't get called back for or that I didn't book. I did feel like a failure. I mean, looking back now, having, been in the city for about 2.5 years and having worked with some incredible coaches and life coaches and acting coaches and vocal coaches, I've learned a lot from them. I still have a lot ways to go, but I've learned a lot about what success is to me and what failure, what failure is and what failure does to us as actors. So yeah, I looking back now, it's not a failure. There are so many reasons why we don't get called back or we don't book the job. And most of them are actually not in our control. And that's something I've had to, come to terms with. And I've had to keep reminding myself even now, even after I've written this blog post, I still have to remind myself that sometimes it's just not in my control.
So I think that's a very common theme among actors, even A-list actors. I mean, look at Courtney Cox. She was one of the first to start her own production company because she wanted to have some more control in her life. And the truth is, as actors, we go in, we do a great job, and then it's kind of up to the gods after that.
Yeah, it really is. I just finished reading Jenna Fischer's book, The Actor's Life. And, I love Jenna Fischer. I watched The Office. I've watched the whole series through probably, more than 10 times.
Oh, wow.
I look up to a lot of those actors, and I've sort of grown up idolizing a lot of those actors. And to read that an actor like Jenna Fisher, someone who to me has all the success in the world, to read that, she has struggled with finding success and defining failure and success, and that, she struggles with she struggles with all the things, all the feelings and all the things that we all struggle with. Reading that actually gave me quite a bit of comfort and made me realize we're not alone. All of us go through this, and we just have to sort of realize that this is the job.
And, I think that that's something that a lot of beginning actors don't realize as they enter the industry. We are not alone. I found when I came to New York years and years ago, I was so surprised at how wonderfully supportive the acting community was, and how the very actors that you're auditioning, quote unquote, against, that you're up for the same job, they're extremely supportive. Have you had that same experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, coming into it, I didn't really know what to expect from those types of audition settings. I don't know if people go to, when I first started out, I didn't know if you went to an audition and you spoke to your competition, or if and when I was very surprised when I went into my first audition holding room. Everyone was, engaged in conversation. I was sitting down in a corner by myself, and somebody came up to me and she asked me if the seat next to me was taken, and I said no, and she sat next to me, and she started asking me questions about myself, and she started asking me, where I went to school, and we got into a full conversation, and to this day she's one of my good friends. So I didn't realize that there would be so much support in the community as well. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And it's interesting that you say that you found this girl that was your type, that was going up for the same role that you were, because I had the exact same experience. When I would go to casting calls, sometimes I would play a little game with myself where I would just follow the girls down the street who looked like me to see if they were going to the same place. And usually they were. But I remember, meeting people who you just see them over and over again because you go up for the same roles and they do become your friends, some of them. I mean, some of them you never meet, some of them. But generally speaking, everybody's very supportive, because I think that it's important for us to stick together as a community and hold each other's hands and celebrate the successes and be supportive to each other in what we would consider to be a loss or a non-victory. Because I think that when you're an actor, you can really feel alone. You can really feel like, oh my gosh, I'm the only person that understands what I'm going through.
And I also think New York City is kind of an isolating place. People say it's exciting. It's constantly moving. It's energetic, but it can be very isolating, especially with our industry. You have your day job. Sometimes, I work with students, I tutor. So a lot of times I'm not really going into an office every day. And so you can really find yourself feeling very alone. And during those times when you're dealing with constant rejection, it can hit you really hard. So that's why I find it so important to really lean on my acting community.
Yes. And it's interesting that you should say that about New York, because you are a born and bred New Yorker, correct?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Grew up on Staten Island, moved to the city after college. I love the city and I can see myself here forever. But I think on the other side of that, I do have to be realistic about it and know that sometimes I have to seek out the support. It's not always just right there for me. Right.
But also in your article, you talk about redefining what success is, redefining your definition of success, your definition of failure. What does that mean to you, or what kind of conclusions have you drawn about that sort of thing?
So my parents are immigrants. My mom is from Jamaica and my dad is from Nigeria. And so growing up, they came to this country and sort of built themselves up from the bottom. And, they instilled in us growing up, my brothers and me, they instilled in us a sense of hard work. And if you work hard, you'll gain success. And if you do what you're supposed to do and you need to do, you'll be successful and you'll get what you desire. And so I went to, after college, I sort of, or throughout college, that was also sort of the mentality. You work hard and you achieve X, right? And so I wasn't prepared to be sort of thrust into this industry where when you work hard, you might not get what you desire. You might not get the role. You might not get X. And so I had to sort of redefine what success meant to me. I had to sort of take a step back and realize that success is not necessarily booking a Broadway show a couple weeks after you move to New York and start acting, right?
Although some people do, I have to say, there are those who do.
And when I told my parents that I was, that I wanted to be an actor, that was definitely what they thought would happen. They're like, okay, work hard and get on Broadway. And so you realize it's not that simple. And you realize that the hard work that you put in gives you smaller successes or different successes. Even getting an audition and doing well in an audition, that's a success, because somebody sees you and somebody gets to see what you have to offer, even if you're maybe not right for this role right now, or maybe they're going in a different direction. You do have to adjust. You have to adjust a lot. And I had to do that because, I was going into these audition rooms and feeling good and being like, okay, great, I'm going to get a call back. And 2-3 days later, it's like, oh, I haven't heard anything. I wonder why.
But it does make the callback even sweeter when you do get that callback. It's very exciting. It's a real victory to get a callback because you realize that you don't just walk in and get a callback every other audition. But when you mentioned auditioning, I just saw on social media last evening, I was scrolling through my feed, and one of my former students had this big, beautiful sign on her feed, and it said, "I got an audition." And I just thought that was so cool because she was celebrating the journey along the way. An audition does give you a chance to practice and have an audience in front of you. And just because they don't necessarily choose you doesn't mean that they didn't enjoy your performance or that they might not think about you for something else.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what I would recommend Jenna Fischer's book to every actor, because that's a lot about what she talks about. She talks about her journey and how she auditioned for the same casting directors 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and it was the 10th time that she booked a job with them. But she kept leaving an impression, and they kept calling her in to audition for other things. So, getting that audition is just as much of a success as booking the job.
So you're basically planting seeds along the way, and you just never know which one's going to turn into a sunflower.
Exactly, yeah.
On that happy note, we're going to hear from our sponsor, so we will be right back. We're speaking with Kim Onah, and when we come back in our second half, we're going to talk about her strategy and her tips for how to have a successful life as an actress.
Looking for the perfect monologue that will nail your next audition? Need something right away? Need a fresh perspective? Monologues2go.com is your one-stop shop for audition material. We understand actors' needs because we've been in your shoes. We know the importance of finding the perfect piece that fits like it was made for you. Pick your favorite monologues and download them instantly. It's that easy. Think of us like a takeout menu, only a whole lot more fun. We're fresh, fast, hot, and delivered to you in seconds. Monologues2go.com. Original monologues that work.
Hi, everybody. We are back with Kim Onah, and we're talking about finding your own success in the audition room. And Kim has very nicely set out a list of 5 tips for what you should do before you go to your auditions. So first of all, she says warm up, then set goals before you enter the room, leave your expectations at the door, live in the moment, and be kind to yourself, which I love, be kind to yourself. But let's start with the warm up. you have found that working in a very strategic manner has really helped you?
Yeah, definitely. Even just the repetition of warming up before every audition has grounded me. I have a routine. I warm up my voice, I warm up my body, and I warm up my mind, and that makes me feel ready for an audition. And, even if it's just spending 30 minutes warming up in my apartment before I head out to an audition, or if I'm running from something, just spending 5 minutes alone in a quiet corner at a studio, just centering myself and making sure I feel comfortable and grounded. I just try to do that before every audition.
And that routine is part of what makes you feel grounded and feel like, okay, I've got this.
Yeah, exactly. It's really nice to just, when you walk into a room in which you're not sure what awaits you, it's nice to have a little bit of control before then, to have control over your body and what your body's going to do before you walk into the unknown.
Good. Okay. That makes total sense. Then the next one is set goals before you enter the room. What kind of goals do you set?
Yeah, for this one, it's all about just making sure I'm not walking into that room thinking, oh my God, am I doing what they want me to do? Am I impressing them? It's just making sure I have concrete goals that I can really accomplish, right? So a lot of times, some of my goals include, making sure I move intentionally, right? A lot of my habits are, moving without intention. And when I move with intention, that makes me realize that I'm really in it. I'm really in the story. And so that's one of my big goals when I walk into, a room. Sometimes it's as simple as trying out a new riff that I've rehearsed, in a song that I maybe sing for every audition to sort of spice things up or to learn more about my voice. So yeah, it's checking and controlling some of my bad habits and, introducing new things.
Fabulous. I really like the moving with intention. I think that does give you a lot of confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you're really in the story and you're really living in the moment.
Right. Which brings us to leave your expectations at the door.
Yes. So Joyce, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but there have been so many times when I've walked into an audition room expecting one thing and gotten the complete opposite. And it just throws me for a loop. When I first started auditioning, I guess I expected everyone behind the table to pay attention to the person auditioning, right? And I vividly remember this one time where I walked into the room and I started my 32 bar cut and the person was just clicking away on their phone for the entire cut.
Oh gosh.
And I just I couldn't live in the moment because I was so focused on this person clicking away on their phone. He didn't look up once. Even when I left the room, he didn't really look up. He was just kind of like, thanks. That really threw me for a loop. And that was probably one of my most stressful auditions because I was so focused on what he was doing and it so went against what I expected.
Right. And basically all you can do is sort of give it up to the universe, do your best and say thank you very much, smile on your face, whether he looks up to see it or not, and move on with your day.
Yeah.
Do you have something that you do after an audition to sort of get yourself perked back up if in your mind doesn't feel like it goes well? Or do you have any treats you give? You said you go to the chocolate shop, or what do you do to sort of combat that kind of audition experience?
Yeah, I mean, I like to meditate after an audition because meditation really helps me leave things behind, leave negative spaces and negative feelings behind.
That's interesting. That's interesting that you say to meditate after an audition. I've heard other actors say, I meditate before an audition, but that's really, really kind of great.
Yeah, it just helps me because whenever I'm in an emotional, experience, or whenever I feel negative feelings, I sort of, you get the shortness of breath, and your body just feels I feel outside of my body. And so I need to take a couple minutes to just realign, to get my breath back, and to feel grounded again. But I also do things like I'll go to Pret and get myself a nice croissant. Treat myself that way to make myself feel better.
Yeah. Which comes into the be kind to yourself, but we didn't get there yet. So let's back up a little. So live in the moment. What does that mean?
I think we have such a short time in those audition rooms. I've been in audition rooms where they've made me sing an 8-bar cut. And what can you really tell in an 8-bar cut, right?
Right.
So I think it's so important to be fully in the moment, regardless of how long or short your cut is. And for me, that just means, even if it means taking a couple seconds before I start, to just remember my moment before, remember who this character is and what story she's trying to tell and why she's singing this song, so that I can really feel like I am living in the moment in all 8 bars or all 32 bars. And it just takes your mind off what's going on behind the table.
Now, you mentioned something about 8-bar, an 8-bar cut or a 32-bar cut. Can you just explain that to someone who might not be aware of that terminology?
Yeah, so that's how many measures you get to sing in the room. So sometimes on the audition post, they'll say, prepare a 16-bar cut of a pop rock musical theater song. And so, you just count out 16 measures in your music, and that's what you have to come in with. And you basically want to create a cut that makes sense story-wise. So whether that's a verse and a chorus, or, the bridge to the end.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point, that what you're creating, you need to think about the structure of what those 8, 16, or 32 bars are, correct?
Yeah.
And you want to show off the best of what you've got during that very little short snippet of your life.
Right. With an 8-bar cut, you want to be able to get into belt land quickly.
Really fast. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And be kind to yourself.
Yes. This is the most important one for me because, when I first moved to the city, because I felt every audition I went to that didn't yield specific results was a failure, I fell into this kind of dark place where I was, berating myself after every audition and yelling at myself and thinking, why, like, what's wrong with me? And so this has been, while it's taken me the longest one it's taken me the longest to learn, but I think it's definitely the most important. And it's just be constructive. Be constructive with the criticism that you give yourself. Always, always, always be kind to yourself after an audition. There were times, when I would go into an audition and realize, I'm not in the moment right now, and that audition maybe wasn't my best. But, yelling at myself about it or berating myself and thinking what's wrong with me is not helpful. It's not constructive. It sets up this negative cycle that prevents you from ever feeling confident or ever feeling like you can or like you're enough, right? So I always like to try and be kind to myself after an audition, whether that means going to get myself a treat or patting myself on the back or giving myself 5 points for living in the moment or for hitting a note that I was worried about. So yeah, I think it's really important for actors to just be kind and to really trust themselves.
Absolutely. But I think you said something too that was important that I don't want to go by. You talked about constructive criticism, or about, you were basically going through what you learned when you went to your audition. I think that we can really learn a lot from an audition, whether it goes our way or whether it doesn't go our way.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. There's a quote that Oprah has that I just love. And she says, "I never lose, I either learn or win.
Huh.
And so I just love that. I love that mentality because, yeah, an audition is always going to be a learning experience, whether or not it's the best audition, right? You're always going to learn something about yourself. You're always going to learn something about, the industry. You're always going to learn something about that specific casting director or that show. And it's going to help you. It's going to benefit you.
Right. And I love that you've learned all this in, 2 years? Pounding the pavement in New York?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely been with the help of, my mentors, my support system, my family, my friends, my acting community. And I still have so much to learn.
Well, we are all works in progress. So you never get to a point where it's too late to learn. But tell me about Actor Therapy, because that was the website that you posted this blog on. And I was just, when I went to it, I went, wow, these people sound like they're pretty cool.
Yeah, yes. So, yes, Actor Therapy is a training program that was started by Lindsay Mendez and Ryan Scott Oliver, both of whom are incredible people. And basically, they started it to create a space in which you can safely explore and work and learn. So basically, Actor Therapy, there are classes. You have 5 classes within one session, and basically you get to work on your audition cuts and you get to work on your acting and your singing with Lindsay, Ryan, and a ton of other incredible faculty members. And it was one of the first things I did when I got to the city because I kind of felt overwhelmed and I felt lost and I didn't really have a ton of training to back me up. And it's been a space where I can train. It's been a space where I can grow. It's been a space where I can cry. So yeah, it's been really amazing to get to take classes and to also form a great actors community for myself through Actor Therapy.
And I think that that's a good thing to mention to actors, is that just because you have your degree doesn't mean you're done learning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Every working actor that I know is in and out of class or constantly in class. You have to exercise that muscle. It's not unlike a dancer. A dancer would not dream of not going to class. They just have to move, these people. But actors are like that too. Your whole body is part of your tool chest.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you learn, you not only learn from the incredible faculty, but you learn from other actors. I can't even begin to talk about how much I've learned from the other actors that I've been in class with in Actor Therapy and other acting classes. It's really special experience to be amongst your peers and to work with them and play with them and learn from them.
Wow. And how did you meet these people from Actors Therapy? How did you find them?
Through a friend, I found Lindsay Mendez as a vocal coach. And so she told me about Actors Therapy, and that's how I learned about them. And I started my first session, and I'm still going strong after about 1.5 years with them.
Fantastic. For me, when I first came to the city, that was Actors Connection, was my little family, and I was there pretty much every night of the week. I just think that it's really important to find a place to land where you are part of the community.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I love Actors Connection, actually. They're also really, really great.
They are really great. It was started by a lady by the name of Bunny Levine, who was a librarian. And then when she retired, she decided that she wanted to open Actors Connection, and she wanted to I think it started as a different entity. I can't remember what it was called. That was before my time. But she and her husband, Bernie, were like den mother and den father to all of us. It sounds like the Actor Therapy people I should put on my list too, because they sound like a wonderful community they're creating.
It really is. I've definitely found my tribe through them.
Wow. Any little last tidbits of advice that you would like to give to actors?
I think a big one is trust yourself and know that you're enough. It sounds Sounds like something that's pretty obvious, but it's something that it's taken me a long time to learn, and that I'm still exploring. That you're enough, and whether or not you get a job from an audition or a callback from an audition, continue to know that you're enough.
Fantastic. You are enough. I love it. On that wonderful note, I thank you so much, Kim Onah. You were lovely, and you just have so much to offer. I'm just so proud of you.
It was really nice. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You have been listening to The Craft and Biz of Acting. I'm Joyce Story. Until next time, break a leg.
Thanks for tuning in to The Craft and Biz of Acting. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode, and while you're at it, please leave us a rating and a review and share our show with your friends. We're building a supportive and educational community, and we want you to be a part of it. Tune in every week for more helpful insights and tools for honing your craft and booking your next gig. Until next time, break a leg.